Hi everyone, welcome to Crate Digging with Carter. My name's Carter, and I'm excited to kick off a new series I'm going to be doing. So this is a series I'm calling Tone Poet Reviews. As I mentioned in my previous video, I, for the first time, signed up for a year-long subscription of the Tone Poet Society. It was a big expense, but I'm really excited to receive 2 records every month. I love Blue Note, I love jazz, and I thought it could be a cool series to discuss my thoughts on each month's releases along with some special one-off videos for the exclusives to see, if I think that they're worth picking up if I weren't to be a part of the Tone Poet Society. So that's this video is going to be about today. I'm going to be talking about the January releases for Tone Poet. And I'll also be talking about some of the gifts that you get when you subscribe to be a part of the Tone Poet Society for a year. So to kick off here, I am going to talk about what comes in the box, your first box as a Tone Poet Society member. So first of all, you get this here, nice envelope, Blue Note Tone Poet Society. Really cool kind of packaging here. Very well done, good presentation. And then inside here, you've got a handwritten note on Tone Poet Society stationery, signed by Joe Harley, the Tone Poet himself, and Don Wasp, president of Blue Note. I'm not going to read this right now, but it's cool, very nice. And if you sign up, I'll let you enjoy reading it for yourself. Also, I should preference that obviously by the size of my channel, I'm not getting paid by Blue Note or anyone to do these videos. This is just my honest opinion, completely subjective. You also get a free gift, and I'm not sure if the gift varies from year to year or how that goes, but if you sign up for a year of Tone Poet Society, you also get a free gift. If you don't want to know what the gift is and want to be surprised, you can skip ahead. If you don't care and are interested in what that gift is, I'm going to show it to you now. It is pretty cool, though. So, gift comes in this little velvet bag here. You can't really tell because of my camera quality, but this says right here, so you got the Blue Note right there. And in the bag, we've got this really cool anti-static record brush. It says Tone Poet Society on this side, and then on the other side, it says Blue Note. Very cool, it cleans itself. I think everyone has one of these. I had one before. But this is really cool. I'm definitely going to swap out my old one. I needed to get a new one anyway. It's getting kind of old. And I'll be using this cool Tone Poet Society record brush. So I was very pleased and pleasantly surprised by the free gift. I thought it was going to be like a pen or a button or something like that. But no, this is actually useful and helpful to me as a record collector. So yeah. All right, now I'm going to dig into my review of the January releases. There were 2 releases in January, as there are every month. I'm not going to talk about the exclusive in this video. I haven't ordered this exclusive yet, but I do plan to, and we'll talk about that in a future video. All right, so I am breaking down my review. I'm doing a 10-point system, and I'm breaking it down into 4 categories, and we'll give my overall recommendation X number out of 10. So I'm going to go ahead and start by talking about the first record here. This is Natural Essence by Tyrone Washington. This is an album that I was not familiar with, or an artist I was not familiar with before checking out the Tone Poet releases this year. So Tyrone Washington, this is his first and only release on Blue Note as a leader. He was a sideman on a couple of other Blue Note albums, I believe, but this is his first and only one, like I said, as a leader. It's got a cool lineup on here. You got Woody Shaw on trumpet, James Spaulding on alto sax and flute, Tyrone Washington, of course, on tenor sax, Kenny Barron on piano, Reginald Workman on bass, and Joe Chambers on drums. For me, I would say this album here kind of lands in the post-bop category, but it definitely has some influences from hard bop and soul jazz as well, but definitely more in the post-bop realm of music. Interestingly, though, Tyrone Washington, again, didn't record too much, but jazz for him, according to my research and the liner notes here and all that stuff, he was very into jazz as a spiritual experience. Listening to this, you may or may not take away that it is spiritual jazz, but in definition, someone who's making jazz as a way to express their faith in spirituality, I think that makes it spiritual jazz as well. So if you're into spiritual jazz, this is cool. I believe Tyrone Washington on here, actually, double checking, yes, he composed all 6 tracks on here. and they were all meaningful for him in some way or another. The last track on there is Song of Peace. It has a quote from him on here, and it says, "Universal peace, not only between nations and between men, but also internal peace within each man." So this is a song about kind of world peace, universal peace, inner peace, and he kind of played accordingly, which I think is really cool. So that's a little bit of background on the record. Very cool. A lot of noodling, intense playing on this record as well. So if you're into like that post bop kind of fiery playing, this is going to be a great record for you. All right, enough of the preface. I'm going to go ahead and break down with my review of my 4 categories. So the 4 categories I'm going to be kind of ranking or judging the records by are presentation, approachability, music quality, and value. So by presentation, what I mean is, do I like the cover? Do I like the jacket? Do I like the photos, the liner notes, everything presentation wise? Now, to clarify, everything that the Tone Poet Society is putting out is going to come in wonderful gatefold jackets, high quality. You got the RTI inner sleeve, archival quality inner sleeve. Every pressing I've received has come out clean. It sounds great. So again, like that's kind of a given when it comes to Tone Poet releases. That's what you're paying for, is a really high quality product. I'm going to be more talking about just my preference towards the other things. And if there's anything like the music sounds horrible, or I got a record and it's super scratched, or it doesn't play through well, I'll mention it, but that is highly unlikely to happen. That being said, my thoughts on presentation of Natural Essence. So first thing I want to say, cover art. This is a cover that was done in 1968. So Reed Miles did not do this cover. It was done by a group here I hadn't heard of before, Forlenza Venosa Associates. Not too familiar with them. I think it's a cool cover. The photo quality on this is a little lacking. You can't really tell on my camera. You can see it up close. It's a little bit of a grainy picture on here, which is unfortunate. I like the text. I like that it has the listing on here. Nothing out of this world. Decent cover. I really enjoy, however, on the back, you've got some dense liner notes. I always love digging into the liner notes, learning about the artist, learning about the tracks, and this kind of gives a good background to a lot of the players on here. It dives into each track one by one, kind of talks about the thought process in there. And there's actually some clips, as I read earlier, from Tyrone Washington himself. So I found these liner notes to be really cool. There's some cool photos, session photos in here as well, which I'm not going to show, but you can check them out later if you're interested. But overall, I would say nothing out of this world for a cover. Decent, pretty cool. The front's, all right. It's a good picture of him. Again, photo quality's a little off. Great liner notes on the back. So I'm giving presentation on Natural Essence a 6 out of 10. My next category is approachability. And what I mean by approachability is this music that you could put on in the background per se? If you're having some friends over for dinner, you're having a game night, you're cooking, you're cleaning, whatever, is this something you could put on in the background and enjoy, or is it going to be a little difficult to listen to because of one reason or another? This album, like I said, is post bop, so in my opinion, it's not too approachable. I wouldn't want to put this on when I'm having a nice dinner with my wife, or having friends over for a game night. It's like I said, there's some noodling going on. It's a little fiery, a little intense. Not great background music. So in my opinion, I would give approachability on this 3 out of 10. That being said, my next category is going to be music quality. How is the quality of the music? The musicianship. Do I enjoy the music itself? In a deep listening mode, put it on, sit on the couch. I enjoyed listening to this record for sure. Each track is distinct from the last one. I can definitely tell the passion the musicians were putting into it. They're very technically proficient at their instruments, kind of across the board. Great rhythm section, powerful players, really cool variety of music. You got some influences from bossa nova, some influences from soul jazz, spiritual jazz, all of those things. Definitely worth a listen. I think the music on here is very strong. Again, not good background music, not good for a social gathering, but if you're just going to listen to some jazz and dive deep, it's a cool record. So I'm giving music quality on this one an 8 out of 10. And my last category is value. And what I mean by value is, can I buy this record in a similar condition with a similar pressing quality for a cheaper price somewhere else, that would be less value, or is it going to be really hard to get and this is the best value, that'd be more value, right? So for Tyrone Natural Essence by Tyrone Washington, came out in 1968. On Discogs, you can find pressings for sale from about that $40 range. Some, obviously if they're in better condition, you're going to get near mint. It's going to be more expensive. If you get some cheaper, G plus ones, they might be a little bit cheaper than $40, but you're averaging about $40. If you're getting near mint, it's going to be maybe closer to $100, right? So knowing that you can get Tone Poets, base price at 38, you wait for a sale, you can get them close to $30. I would say this is a good deal. If you like this music, buying the Tone Poet at full price or on sale, you're going to get a better product quality than you might be able to find in a record store if you're able to come across it, or online, Discogs, eBay, whatever. But it's possible that you could find an original 1968 pressing for about the same price, maybe adjusted by 10, 20 bucks. So for that reason, I'm giving value of this one 7 out of 10. I think if you like this, you got Kevin, mastered by Kevin Gray, sounds great in stereo. It's a good value. Maybe not the best value ever. There is going to be more differences you'll see in other records between like an original pressing and this reissue, but this is a solid value. You're not going to do better than this, more than likely. All right. So my overall take of Natural Essence by Tyrone Washington, I'm giving this record a 6 out of 10. A solid record for a jazz collection, especially if you're into post-bop. Is it essential? Not for me. Glad to have it in the collection, though. So that's why I'm giving it 6 out of 10. All right, moving on to my next record. So the other January release, this is Hank by the Hank Mobley Sextet, originally released in 1957. It's got Donald Byrd on trumpet, John Jenkins on alto sax, Hank Mobley, of course, on tenor sax, Bobby Timmons on piano, Wilbur Ware on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. Very powerful lineup on there. I was unfamiliar with John Jenkins. This is his first time being recorded on Blue Note Records. He's an alto saxophonist. Wasn't recorded very much, but that's his first time on here as well. Donald Byrd has done a few records before this, but he's doing, he's got some killer solos on here. Sounds fantastic. Hank Mobley, I think this is, in the mid-early part of his career. He sounds great as well. Bobby Timmons on piano has some killer solos. Wilbur Ware and Philly Joe Jones are holding it down in the rhythm section. It's super powerful, and there's a great rhythm section just propelling this record the whole time. So again, awesome lineup on this. All right, now I will go into my thoughts on presentation. So I really enjoy the presentation of this. This is a different type of cover for Blue Note. You didn't see too many Blue Note album covers that did not include a photograph of some type on the front. You guys saw more in the 1500 series, but I really like this kind of artistic take, abstract on here. I like the text. I like the colors. I always love that it has the lineup here on the sides, and I like how they do that going along the side there. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, I enjoy this. You've got some decent liner notes, not quite as dense as the previous record, but still very enjoyable to read. Some good information kind of built in here as well. You got your photos on the back, and they're the same photos actually on the inside as well. Really cool session photos. Highlight photo for me, this is Wilbur Ware on bass, just kind of a killer photo of him. So that was one of my favorites that was called out, but some really cool photos of all the musicians playing. Yeah, so presentation for me overall, I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. I really like it. The cover, I should mention, or the art on here, cover design, was done by Tom Hannon. He designed other jazz records, but very few for Blue Note. So neither of these records were done by Reed Miles, who was the main guy who did the iconic Blue Note records. But I think this is a really cool one, something different for the collection, and I love the kind of this abstract art feel of it. So yeah, 9 out of 10. All right, approachability. This is a 1957 classic hard bop session. Very approachable in my opinion. It's fun. You can put it in the background at game night. It's swinging. It's grooving. It's easy to listen to. You've got some mid-tempo tracks on here. You've got some up-tempo tracks later on along with a ballad. But nothing is crazy out of this world, like avant-garde. Nope, nice easy grooving tracks, nice to listen to. So I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10 for approachability. Finally, music quality, kind of going along with that. like I mentioned before, it's got a killer lineup on here. It's got some great solos. It's got some great variety between the tracks. Like I mentioned, mid-tempo, up-tempo ballads, all that type of stuff. I really enjoyed listening to this. It held my attention the entire time. Just a great hard bop record. Some killer solos. Overall, I love the music on here. Nothing out of this world, nothing groundbreaking, but just some solid musicianship. So I'm giving this one for music quality 9 out of 10. I should also mention this is a mono pressing, so it sounds great. It's got that extra punch. I like stereo and mono, of course, but mono always holds a special part to me. I just feel like it comes out a little bit punchier and stronger. Maybe it's just the setup I have, but yeah, that sounds great. And the last category is value. Is this a good value? Can you find this cheaper? The answer realistically is this is a fantastic value. To get an original pressing of a 1957, 1958 issue of Hank by Hank Mobley, you're looking to pay at least $600. That's the average price on Discogs, and there's currently none available for sale. Hank Mobley's early stuff is always crazy expensive. I'm not going to pay $600 for a record, especially when I can get this for, $30 to $38. It sounds fantastic, near mint condition. Kevin Gray did a great job with it. There are some other issues I could mention out there. There's some 70s reissues you can get for upwards of $50 to $100. There's some Japanese pressings in the 80s that kind of go for that same range, $50 to $100. There's a Scorpio pressing in the early 2000s, which are known for having kind of subpar sound quality. So really nothing comes close to this. You're going to be paying, like I mentioned, $30 to $38 for a classic Hank Mobley record that sounds fantastic. It's unbeatable. I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10 on value. So my overall review of this one is going to be an 8.5 out of 10. Is it essential for a jazz collection? No. Did I really enjoy listening to it? Absolutely. I love hard bop. I love kind of that early blue note feel as well, early mid blue note feel. So for me, this is my favorite record of the month. That being said, I think Tyrone Washington, it was cool to listen to, something different for me. I'm not a huge post-bop guy, but I had some fun listening to it. Always love learning about new musicians and, hearing someone really kind of pour their heart and their soul into their work, and that definitely had that as well. So those are my takes of Hank by the Hank Mobley Sextet and Natural Essence by Tyrone Washington. Looking forward to reviewing next month's records as well for you guys. Hopefully you found this interesting, gained something from it. If you agree with me, disagree with me, again, this is all totally subjective. You can totally feel free to disagree with me or agree with me. Just let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, good.